Hey guys, it's your boy Sushi here with the first Wuthering Waves video, like in a long form content I've ever done. Okay, guys, so I have just finished the 3.1 story and it was absolutely amazing. Kuro Games has done it again. 20 out of 10 story. Jesus Christ, I love aemeath. She's absolutely amazing. The story is absolutely amazing. I can't wait to see what the devs cook up. Okay, because it's only 3.1 and the devs have been cooking so hard for these last two patches already. Can you guys imagine 3.6, 3.7, whenever the finale is just like 2.7? Absolute peak, absolute cinema. Okay, guys? So I found this post here by Fat Fluffy Penguin on Twitter. Well, one of my mods found it for me, Vel. Shout out to Vel. And I wanted to just digest and process what happened at the end of the story, right? Because spoilers, okay? Massive spoiler alerts. If you guys don't want to get spoiled and you haven't done the story yet, don't read this, okay? Don't watch this video. Save this video to your watch later. Come back later, okay? Anyway, let's get straight into it. Let's see what this guy says, okay? If you are confused of what aemeath did at the end of 3.1, let's go, let's go. Okay, so basically, void space doesn't work on the same principle of space and time because the Threnodian Aleph 1 is on a higher dimension than all of that. Okay, it is chaos and the void everything at once. So in void space time is entirely distorted and multiple states of being and time can exist at the same time. Okay, so this makes sense, right? Because of if you guys played the story, you know that there is like a loop, right? aemeath getting saved by MC, aemeath wandering around and stuff like that. That's all a loop, right? She showed that image. I'll find the image because I think I screenshotted it, or maybe I didn't, but I'll post it on the screen here. But it's a loop, right? There's a time loop. So yeah, the Threnodian Aleph one is just it is literally all of the chaos all at the same time. Okay, if that makes sense. So when aemeath enters void space, if she has enough power and the space is stable enough, she can time travel. Okay, so they said this at the end too. She was waiting for MC to save her where we left off at the end of the story, specifically so that she can time travel back right when the Threnodian Aleph 1 came to be or descended or whatever, right? Whatever the terminology is. But when it came to be, right at its inception or whenever it came down from somewhere, that's when she wants to go back to and destroy it right there. Okay? The Exostrider isn't very strong. It's revealed that it delivers sentinels. It's not even meant for combat. True. aemeath is needed in order to resonate with it, so it becomes strong enough to actually be able to seal the Threnodian. So yeah, I think everybody realized that, right? There's not really much explanation needed for this. So the Threnodian first came to Lahairoi chasing an Exostrider thousands of years ago, and aemeath at the end of the story time travels back to that point in time at the end of the 3.0 story, sacrificing herself so that Lahairoi's present is still possible and the left one is still sealed, creating a closed loop of causality, right? So like I said, it's a loop nonstop. She herself is living through the when she was a kid, when her parents died to the void storm, when MC picked her up, when MC decided to leave Lahairoi, and then when MC came back, which is the part we just played, right? The part we just played in the story is when MC came back, and then she goes back into that loop again. Okay, she's essentially going back into that loop again, which is absolutely crazy. In time travel, this is called a predestination paradox. When someone who travels back to the past does something which becomes the cause of the present or future. For example, a time traveler could go back in time to prevent a famous fire, but in doing so, they accidentally knock over a lamp and cause the exact fire they came to stop. Therefore, the fire only happened because they traveled back in time to stop it, making it a self-fulfilling loop, right? So because like the time travel itself is already like baked in. It's essentially already baked into the timeline itself. That's what this means, okay? Which is just crazy, right? Because time travel is like obviously we can't time travel yet IRL, so there's always a lot of theories, but it makes a lot of sense, right? It makes a lot of sense because if you can go back in time, it's definitely gonna change something in the future. I think that's called like the butterfly effect, right? Even if like a butterfly got killed or something like that, millions of years ago, back when dinosaurs were alive, it would have changed something today. Maybe we wouldn't even have humans today or something like that. I don't know. I'm not an expert on this stuff, but I think it's very clear that there is a loop. Okay, there is a loop that she needs to go back in time, and then she becomes a little kid. If you guys saw that scene, I'll probably play it or something when I edit. But it's absolutely amazing. Like MC was saving Aemeath, who was going into the water. Aemeath became a kid again. MC pushes up kid Aemeath again, and then the back previously in the past MC grabs baby Aemeath or kid Aemeath, bro. She's in a loop. Exactly, Vel. Aemeath is in the loop forever. Okay, this is essentially a forever loop, and it's gonna happen forever until maybe 3.6, maybe 3.7, when we finally save everybody. We save Lahairo, we save everybody. I'm so excited, bro. The devs are cooking. I absolutely love Kuro games. You guys already know. Holy crap. So Aemeath's predestination paradox is that she time traveled back thousands of years ago to the point when the Thronodian first entered Lahairoi and sacrificed herself to empower the Exostrider and make sure Lahairoi could exist at all, right? So literally from the beginning of time for this arc, right? The thousands of years ago, she literally went back. So that's the problem, right? That's the problem. Like that's the loop. That's the paradox you're talking about. Because how could she have gone back in time to make sure Lahairoi it could come to life and exist in the first place if she didn't exist in the first place back at that time when the Thronodian came, right? Does that make sense? Like the Thronodian attacked, but she was already alive and she already went back in time, but she hadn't even been born yet. That's the paradox here, right? It doesn't make sense for her to go back in time if at that time she was thousands of years before she was born. Okay, that's why it's so crazy, bro. This story is absolutely phenomenal. What's up, Digiton? 1.0 banner limited bad? Not really. They're not as strong as the new ones, but you can still use them. They can still cook. Because Lahairoi could exist, a young Aemeath could also exist, be rescued by Rover, become a student, then eventually be the Exostrider Resonator that travels back in time to save Lahairoi thousands of years ago, to make sure that everything that already happened is possible. It's an infinite closed loop of cause and effect and predestination paradox that functions on voice waves not adherent to human understanding. Exactly. See, this doesn't make sense. That's what I'm saying, Tingy, right? That's what I'm saying. No, 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 no. So she could time travel because she became a ghost and she's not affected by normal space-time physics. It's her. It's her because she became a ghost. She became a digital ghost, like she said. She has no physical body anymore, so she's not affected by normal time and space physics. That's why she can travel back. But the paradox is because that if she was never born in the first place, like back when she traveled, like back when the Thronodian came to Solaris and tried to destroy Lahairoi or whatever, back thousands of years ago, Aemeath wasn't even born yet. So how can she go back in time thousands of years ago if she wasn't even born yet at that time? That's why it's a paradox. Vel says, wait, the void in itself is unstable. Yes. Yes. Therefore, multiple timelines intercept. I don't know about all that, but holy crap, that's definitely way deeper than not timeline, but points in time. So you're saying there's different points in time that converge, but how? But like that's the paradox, isn't it? Isn't that the point? Isn't that the paradox that the reason, like, if she's going back in time to stop, if she's going back in time to stop the Thernodian in the first place, right? That means that the very first instance, the very first time that the Threnodian came to Solaris or this world or whatever, the Threnodian should have won, right? The Threnodian should have destroyed the Exostrider. So then Lahairoi couldn't exist. She goes back in time to the first Threnodian, correct? Yes. There was also two Exostriders, wasn't there? Something causes it to keep the same. There were, I think, in the story they also mentioned that there were two Exostriders. One Exostrider was defeated, and one Exostrider was not defeated. So then then I'm not sure where, like, if it's not a paradox, then I'm not quite sure how to explain it. What do you mean something causes it to keep the same? Nah, Rereal, the stream crashed. That's why the stream crashed. Bro, why can't I read this stuff? Okay, let me put this on my one of my accounts. Okay, let me log into my Twitter account, my sushi Twitter account, and then I'm gonna check the comments and let's read the comments as well. Let me see. Which Twitter account is this? Which Twitter account is my sushi account? Which email is this? All good, Vel. I'll edit this out of the video. Don't worry. What email is this Twitter account? I don't remember. Okay, this is the new email, right? But I don't even know what string theory is, Tingy. I don't even know what string theory is. Okay, let's read this. Okay, this is good. I think there's a comment here. I think there's a comment here. Let me switch over to the other screen. There we go. Here we go. So I'm in my account now. Let's read this. Okay, this is a comment. This is a follow-up comment. So this is why aemeath doesn't remember saving you in 3.0, because that was essentially another version of her that is inferred to actually have been her from the end of the 3.1 story. Multiple versions of her at different states of time exist. Okay, this makes more sense. Is this what you're trying to say, Vel? That multiple versions of her at different points in time exist. This is also why saving her is very difficult, because aemeath is in a closed predestination loop. Taking her out of this means that she can't have powered up the Exostrider to seal the Thronodian thousands of years ago. Exactly. Which also means that Lahairoi and possibly Soul 3 would have been demolished thousands of years ago. This is exactly what I'm saying. aemeath is basically threading a very delicate balance in this loop to save the world, and saving her such taking her out means that you also make the present world impossible and the present world will be destroyed. That's what I'm saying, because if the very first Thronodian already destroyed the whole world, right? If the first Thronodian already destroyed the whole world, how could Lahairoi have existed? How could aemeath have been born to go back in the first place? The only way I assume there is to save both the world and aemeath is to travel through the void space, defeat the LF1 during its state thousands of years ago to prevent its invasion from ever happening, safely extract aemeath. Yeah, this is tough, bro. I don't know how we're gonna do this. I don't know how Wuwa's gonna cook this. What is this, Vel? You have an image here? Let me see. Okay, let's take a look at this image that Vel posted. Okay, guys, I'm trying my best to explain this. I'm not a scientist, a physicist. I guess this is like Big Bang Theory stuff, right? You guys know. But let's take a look at this Discord image here. Hold up. Go. Here's my Discord. Okay, guys. If you guys want to join the Discord, you can join the Discord. The link is somewhere. Let's take a look at this. Okay. Let's read this. Let's read this. Let's try to figure this out. Okay. Okay. So where do we start here? So our present End of 3.1. Okay. Where does this even start? Oh, this is by the same guy. Perfect. So this is by the same Twitter poster. This is fantastic. So 3.1 story occurs. Aemeath time travels back to thousands of years ago to save Lahairoi. Yes. So she travels back in time. The Exostrider seals the Aleph 1 outside the Strider Gate with Aemeath. Yes. Exostrider uses its reactor drive to found Lahairoi underground. Yes. Then thousands of years from that fight, Lahairoi, essentially the Star Torch Academy, the university that 3.0 is in, or the setting is in, is founded. Great. Then Aemeath is born. Rover saves them, and they live together. Great. She grows up, she becomes a synchronous, and overclocks and dies 10 years ago. Then you get the 10-year loop, right? The 10-year loop from MC coming back and everything. We save her again the same way we just played in the story. Then she goes back in time exactly the way we just played. Right? So that's my question though, Vel, right? The paradoxical part about this is in the very first instance, okay, the very first instance of the Aleph 1 Thronodian, right? Technically, without Aemeath, the Aleph 1 would have destroyed the entire world. So, how could Aemeath be born in the first place, in the very first instance of time, in order to go back and then start this loop? Okay. So this loop, so if you guys see the arrows, I think are very helpful. So right now, Aemeath is stuck in this loop forever. But right now for us, we're out of this loop. We are out of this loop currently. This is what this left red arrow represents. Okay, we're out of this loop. We're gonna continue with the story, and somehow we have to get back into this loop in order to save Aemeath. That's the hard part. Exactly. That's the whole paradoxical part, right, Vel? That's what I'm not too sure how to explain yet. You're saying the loop just exists? Right, so the only way to explain this is like what the author wrote, right? The author is saying that this loop was already happening. Everything was happening all at the same time already, right? If we think of time like chronologically, it doesn't make any sense, and that's why I'm confused, because the very first instance of the Thronodian coming and destroying everything should have happened. Therefore, Aemyth shouldn't have been born at all. But that means that this has already like all this is already predetermined. It's already in the loop. How is 3.1 outside of the loop? She goes back. So she's there. She's the one in the loop, Tingy. She's the one in the loop. We're out of the loop. The question is, in the future stories, in the future patches, how do we re-go? How do we like we? That's not Amith, right? The MC, Luke, and all the other characters. How do we re-enter this loop to save her? Because we're saving her. Okay, we're absolutely saving her. So you're saying this loop is always there, right? So I think that's what the author said as well. He said that the author said that right here, multiple versions of her at different states of time exist. That's the only way it makes sense, because every single event that you guys saw in the diagram just now, everything existed already. It's already there, predetermined. It's already predetermined there. Therefore, you can't think of it chronologically. No, we're not part of the loop, Tingy. Only Amith is part of the loop. We're outside of the loop, which is why it's very hard to go into the loop. How do we go into the loop? We keep the loop going so that the world isn't destroyed, and then how do we save Amith as well? That's the real question. We can go back in, like, going back in the loop is not the hard part. Okay, I'm sure that's relatively easy. The hard part is going in the loop, making sure the entire world doesn't absolutely explode and implode because of the Thronodian, and then saving Amith as well. Because if you take Amith out of the loop, that loop is gone. That loop is dead. Like, you can't. Then the Thronodian, then Amith would have never gone back in time to defeat the Thronodian to save the whole world. You can't. Okay, it's different, Tingy. It's two different things. Where we have our own timeline, it just so happens that our timeline connects with her timeline in the loop. Also, what Vel said is correct. We went into the void space. So earlier in this post, the void space, right here, Tingy. The void space is it doesn't adhere to human understanding of space and time. The problem is it's all at the same time, right? Our normal understanding of space and time is that it's like chronological. But in this void space where there's so much chaos and everything existed at the same time. We went into the void space is the water, right, Vel? I think it was the water. It's that dark water that we jumped in to save her, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, let me just skim through this again because I think that's the only way to describe it. So from playing the story, we identified it. We had from playing the story, MC figured out that the MC that saved aemeath and raised her in the first place is the same aemeath that um as a kid. Okay, so it's hard to explain because I don't know if you were watching the story, Tingy. But we jumped into the water. We were trying to save aemeath. Aemeath turns back into a kid. We bring her to the surface, but we in the current timeline for the 3.1 patch, we did not save her at all. We pushed her up far enough for our past self to save her, and then take care of her, and then everything else happens. But wait, no, no, this is not about understanding the loop. It's about the loop is already there. MC figures out that it's a loop because MC, at this point in chronological time, MC became part of the loop and figured out that it was part of the loop. We're not in her loop. We are not in her loop. We're not the ones being looped, is what I'm trying to say. We're part of that loop, but only for one instance, and then we go out of it. She's the one that's stuck in that loop forever. Okay, but the loop is caused by the void. Yes. Yes, it is. The void is like all chaos and everything, which is why everything happened exact like all at the same time. The void cannot be explained by humans. I don't know if we have an answer to that yet. Because aemeath explains to us. Oh, so how can we use the human explanation as a loop? But then there's no way to explain it. No, 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 no. You you just have to accept that it's a loop though. It's not. No, 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 no. That's incorrect, Tingy. That's incorrect. You wrote that the loop is not real because it's a human concept. That's incorrect. The loop is simply what we decide to call it. It's the same thing with math. We invented math to describe the world around us. Whether or not we invented math would does not stop nature from doing its thing. Does that make sense? Whether or not we came up with math doesn't matter. So it's not really a loop. Wait, that no, 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 no. It's because we call it a loop that makes it a loop, Tingy. It's going to happen anyway. We could have coined the term any other term. We could have named it a lap or a leap or whatever. The coining of the term is irrelevant because it's going to happen anyway. The same thing with nature and math. Just because we invented math to describe the world around us does not mean that if we did not invent math, that the world would not exist the same way. Does that make sense? The world, the nature is still going to exist. We just made math to explain it. But even if we didn't invent math, nature and everything would still act the same way. That's the time. Okay, that's shooting. That's the time though. That the difference between the void and regular human logic is that human logic is that time is chronological. Yes, you go. It's in a linear path. It goes in order. But the void is what created the loop, because the void does not follow human logic. Okay, so we have to separate the loop being made by the void and then regular chronological time. So the MC and the player who's playing Wuthering Waves, is on a linear path right now. Okay, the linear time right now. The void created the loop by itself. It was already there, which is why it doesn't follow human logic. We were simply just part of that loop one time and we got out of the loop. But aemeath is stuck in that loop forever. He said, Tingy says, so no human explanation can explain the void, therefore the loop created. No, Tingy. So you're correct that no human explanation can explain the void, correct. But in the story, we have aemeath. Aemeath is the one in the loop, and she explains to us, and she shows us essentially that it is a loop. Because no human can go in there and be like and come out like without dying or getting absolutely cooked. But aemeath, because she's not human. No, she's not human. Thingy, she's not human. She's a digital ghost. She's the reason why she can go into the void and then travel back in time and all that stuff because she is not human. She is born human. No, she was born human, but then she sacrifices her body to power the Exostrider to go back in time to beat the Threnodian, and then she comes back and being born again. Yes, she's the one who can travel into the void without being affected, and then she understands it because she went through back in time and everything. She's the one in there in the story. Okay, so there's a loop. She is in the loop and she's stuck in the loop. But the MC and everybody else is following a linear path. It's just that the 3.0 and 3.1, we were in that loop just for one time. So the void gave her big brain. No, she literally sacrificed herself. That's the reason why she gave up her physical being in order to save the world. And that was the loop that the void created already. The void created that loop itself. We follow regular space time. We hit the loop one time, and then we're out of the loop right now from just finishing the story. We're completely out of the loop. But aemeath is still in the loop right now. So how do we save her is the real question, okay, guys? Guys, honestly, this was the best I could do to explain it with my chat as well. If you guys have any other ideas or you agree, disagree, or anything, let me know down in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This is my first Wuwa video, and I don't know if it gets decent views and you guys like it, I would love to do more Wuwa videos. I love this game. This is the best gacha game by the best devs ever. I'm also giving away 2 monthly passes for Valentine's Day. Okay, guys, all you have to do is like, comment, subscribe on this video, and yeah, you'll be entered into that. I'll be giving away live on stream for Valentine's Day. And that's it for this video.